Cheesy Chips Audio presents Peril in the Woods, an audiobook version by Jacob Van Barneveld. Read by Jacob Van Barneveld. Prologue. When I, Jacob Van Barneveld, first released Peril in the Woods into an unexpected world, I could hardly have prognosticated the colossal effect that such a daring and morbid tale would have. Never before or since have the masses been faced with such brutal honesty and such blinding terror. The sheer originality and audacity of the work surely account for the frankly unkind reviews. One can only surmise that the critics felt threatened by the cinematic status quo crumbling beneath their pudgy, incredulous feet. The film was made on a shoestring budget, which only added, in my opinion, to its raw brilliance. There were also time constraints, such that if the actors couldn't make the shoot that day, they were replaced with other crew members, or sometimes even pot plants. Something you can spot if you look closely enough. Needless to say, my role, not only as director, writer, producer, cameraman, but also the smouldering lead hunk Todd, stole the show. Kevin Spacey, a very close and personal friend, with whom I am always engaged in some sort of thespian banter with, once called my acting, quote, not the worst. Which of course is his sardonic way of saying I'm fully Oscar-worthy. With that said, I present here an audio adaptation of my magnum opus. I must offer a word of caution. This is an all-out, blood-curdling, spine-chilling, bed-wetting horror story, and not for the faint-hearted. Please do not listen if you are easily spooked, pregnant, or operating machinery. Now, sit back, relax, and have ready a change of underpants as we get right into it. Or should I say, fright into it? Chapter 1. Present my ring. With the kind of mirth, curiosity, and unbounded naivety attributable only to the teenage years, 4 jolly young people hiked through the immense foliage of the woods. Todd and Ned exchanged jocular badinage, feeling cocksure and steaming with testosterone-fueled vivacity. Meanwhile, Brad, a much more timid and academic kind of chap, observed the fauna keenly. Sharonda, the female of the group, smiled with fond amusement as she watched the boys mucking about. They traversed the dense forest trail, eventually reaching a site worthy of encampment. Once the tents had been erected, Todd lit a campfire, and before long the group sat round, basking in the unblemished splendor of the woods. While the light dwindled and darkness enveloped them like a big blank blanket of blackness. Flickers of firelight danced like Stygian nymphs across their weary faces as they discussed their lives.
I'm telling you guys, me and Mary Lou have been sweethearts since junior high. We're gonna make it, I tell ya. We love each other and a marriage will most likely happen. I'll present my ring to her, and kids will also happen. It's written in the stars, I tell ya. L-O-V-E. The real thing.
Sharonda groaned.
Oh, brother.
What, Sharonda? I know you're a hot-ass tomboy with more interest in guns and grease than romance. But what are you trying to say, Danny?
Ned, you know I like her. But I just don't get bimbos. You know? Always prim and proper and ready for the fashion show. And she looks at me kind of funny.
Oh, heck, Sharonda. You're just imagining it. I'll just light this cigarette. Hey, Sharonda. Can I have those peas, if you ain't gonna eat them?
No, Todd.
Son of a bitch! Why not, Sharonda?
Don't wanna.
Brad looked up from his book on algebraic fractions and spoke in his stuttering voice.
Yeah. Get your own peas, Todd.
I know that, Brad. Damn it, I know that. I just want her to give me her peas.
Herpes. Chapter 2. Help My Pork. After a well-deserved night's rest, the quartet gathered to discuss plans for the day's hike. Their bellies were pleasantly full, and they made grateful noises of satiated, digestive contentment. Sharonda had outdone herself with the provision and preparation of delicious porridge and baked beans, a sumptuous repast fit for royalty. Ned stood examining a map, his brow crumpled in a frown of perplexed concentration. Brad came to check how he was getting on.
Where are we, Ned?
Well, my brother with stutter, according to this map here that I am reading, we are here in... yes, that's it. The woods.
Ned pointed to a large green area on the map.
That would account for this high density of vegetation, such as the noble tree, or arbor in Latin, which are the oldest living organisms. Did you know? And they never did die.
Yes, it would. Would. Get it? Son of a bitch.
Damn it, Ned. You're always such goofing around. That's why your grade average is dropping at school.
Well, Brad, I guess you're right. Jeez, what's that you say about trees? Never die, you say?
Not from old age, anyway. They only die from disease or being
Killed?
Just then there was a sudden rustling in the leaves, which made the two of them jump out of their skins and freeze with terror. Upon seeing, however, that the noise was merely a crow fleeing its domiciliary tree, they relaxed and laughed it off.
Hey, help me put this pork in this sandwich, will ya? I don't want to starve on the hike which we are going on.
Sure. I wonder where the others are.
Chapter 3. The Dangers of Actius. Sharonda, feeling like she needed a little freshening up before the day ahead, went to bathe in one of the many streams that meandered through the tree-rich environment. She carefully checked the landscape to ensure her privacy would not be compromised in her moment of nudity. Her head swiveled like a cautious owl until she was satisfied her dishabille would not be witnessed. However, unbeknownst to Sharonda, someone or something was watching. It was Todd. Todd was watching. As she disrobed, he looked on keenly as her hard, tomboy exterior seemed to dissolve in the vast expanses of her burgeoning femininity. His eyes gazed longingly as she let down her mahogany hair, which tumbled down her back like a silk waterfall, reaching the upper edge of her soft buttocks. She turned, cupped her ample bosoms, and lowered herself into the receptive water. Todd knew he shouldn't be watching. It wasn't the gentlemanly thing to do, but he was frozen in voyeuristic admiration and illicit excitement. He felt a strange rush, a heady cocktail of hormones, and a hardening of his genitals. He thought about how the heck he was going to finally tell Sharonda about his feelings for her. He watched as her breasts seemed to glide effortlessly across the water like a pair of apples. Apples that Todd desperately wanted to go bobbing for. Hearing someone calling back at the camp, Todd sneaked away to rejoin his comrades, while Sharonda, blissfully unaware, shaved her legs. Chapter 4. Sorry, mister. No change. The noon sun beat down on the gang as they paused their hike for the purposes of refreshment. They had snaked several sweaty miles through the woodland and were well in need of rehydration and rest. They munched and chomped happily on their sandwiches, while Todd fumbled at his pockets, craving a nicotine hit.
Where's my lighter, goddammit?
Isn't it beautiful out here?
Top sandwiches, if I say so myself.
A cracking of twigs nearby startled everybody, and the eating of sandwiches was instantaneously curtailed in lieu of the shock.
What was that?
After a prolonged moment of silence, it was decided that the sound was probably no more than a rodent scurrying through the undergrowth, and lunchtime recommenced. Todd held his sandwich aloft.
Hey, Sharonda, want some of mine?
With that, Todd smushed his sandwich into Sharonda's face. Large slices of pork protruded from her hair and stuck over her eyes like meaty goggles. They all fell quite helplessly into a fit of rollicking hysterics.
Hey, Todd, quit porking me!
And then Ned let out the most shrill and piercing of screams. Directly behind Brad and Sharonda stood a tall, menacing character. His clothes were tattered and torn, and his face grubby and unwashed. In some indecipherable dialect, the wild vagabond said something or other, then held out a plaintive hand, while his beady little eyes scanned the group. Like a flash, Sharonda delivered a plethora of martial arts moves to the disheveled beggar. She was like a well-oiled karate machine, delivering devastating blow after devastating blow until the uninvited guest had become little more than a pile of bloody flesh.
Sorry, mister. No change.
That was quick thinking, Sharonda. Let's head back to the camp without delay. Hey, Todd, have you still got those drugs, which you earlier mentioned having?
Damn right, Ned. Yeah, let's party all night long. Son of a bitch. Woohoo!
I'm not sure about drugs, you guys. Come on, Brad. I mean, you gotta loosen up sometime in your life. Come on.
That's his choice, Sharonda. Quick, you guys, it's getting dark.
Chapter 5. Guten Tag. As the sun began to disappear, so did the tension that the unexpected brush with the terrifying vagrant had brought. Todd and Sharonda sat alone together by a roaring campfire.
Gee, Sharonda, you were really kind of amazing back there. What with the way you handled that guy back there.
Thanks, Todd. Yeah, I guess those Shotokan karate lessons my dad gave me before he died tragically, rescuing me from that house fire, really paid off.
You really miss him, huh?
Sharonda's eyes moistened and there was a soft tremor in her voice.
Yes, I really do.
Well, I don't miss mine.
Todd looked away, his face contorted in disgust and anger.
Believe me, I was happy for him as anyone when he got that gender reassignment surgery. But then the doctor got that goddamn hormone screwed up, and now she has 5 breasts and one hell of a temper. No, I don't miss getting my ass whooped every night. The worst part is, she doesn't even know she's doing it.
Todd broke down, fighting for breath between the heavy, miserable sobs. Sharonda, sensing his vulnerability in that moment, pulled Todd closer and stared deep into his saturated cobalt eyes with loving tenderness and gentle honesty.
Oh, Todd, can't they fix it? You know, change her back?
It's too late, damn it. He was a woman trapped in a man's body. Now she's a freak trapped in hell.
His sobbing continued.
Look at me, Todd. Look at me!
Their eyes met again, and this time, quite naturally, almost magnetically, they leaned closer together, their lips ready to meet in passionate communion when...
Hey, what's taking so long with those aforementioned drugs?
Ned blundered over, full of jovial exuberance, and sat right between Todd and Sharonda. Todd delved into his inner pocket and retrieved a slim white object.
Here, Ned. I wrote this drug cigarette. I'll light it now.
Brad looked up from his book and cast a look of disapproval before returning to his world of numbers. Ned, Todd, and Sharonda all took turns brazenly inhaling the drug smoke and exhaling nebulous plumes into the mystery of the night. Was it the hallucinogenic effect of the drug cigarette, or... No, they could definitely hear the sound of voices, and those voices were getting nearer. Out of the bushes appeared two female hitchhikers. They were young, blonde, buxom, and ravishingly beautiful. They removed lollipops from their mouths and giggled in a coquettish fashion.
Oh, sorry to disturb you, We are lost and it's getting dark.
It's super scary, yeah?
I am Helga and this is Olga. We are Bavarian hikers staying on the other side of the valley.
Can't we join you guys? Ned, looking like the proverbial cat getting the proverbial cream, nodded quickly.
Why, sure, girls, that would be fine.
I'd say.
Sharonda tutted disapprovingly.
Say, why don't you join us by this nice warm fire?
Helga and Olga looked at each other, giggled, and ran over to join the group. The festivities continued deep into the night. Brad retired to bed first, and then Todd and Sharonda soon after stumbled to their tent for a night of fumbling romance. Ned regaled the beautiful Bavarians with exaggerated tales of his American football prowess.
Touchdown, home run, all in one go.
They were all quite unaware of what horror would await them in the morning. Chapter 7. Brad. The silence of the morning was broken, not by birdsong, but by something much more sinister. A blood-curdling scream resounded through the woods. A few moments later, Helga, Olga, and Ned were standing outside Brad's tent. And there lay Brad, bloody and dead. 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 Brad was... dead?
It's Brad. He's dead.
Ned turned deathly pale.
He's been murdered.
Olga and Helga held each other tight. Helga's breasts pushed against Olga's as they consoled each other, finding comfort in the other's arms and breasts. They started to walk gingerly over to get a closer look, but Ned shot out an arm.
No, don't look in there, I beg you. It's not a sight that a woman should ever have to look at. Helga, Olga, go back to your camp. We'll get some help. Though only God can help Brad now. Poor goddamn son of a bitch.
Okay, see you later, yeah?
Yeah. Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen, ladies.
Just then, Todd stuck his head out of the tent.
Hey, I heard a loud noise. What's all this commotion about anyhow?
Yeah, what gives?
I don't know quite how to say what it is I'm about to say, so I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Damn it, how do I say this? It's Brad. He's been... murdered!
No!
Todd shook his head in ghastly disbelief.
My God!
It's a shitter, all right.
What are we gonna do?
There's a payphone a small way from here. Sharonda, you go make the call.
Okay.
Oh, Sharonda?
Yeah?
Take my scooter. It might save you some time.
Thanks, I will. Oh, Ned?
Yes, Sharonda?
I'm scared, goddammit. I'm scared.
I know. An incident such as the one we've witnessed is enough to take the toothpaste out of anyone's tube, I say.
See you, Todd.
Ride like the wind.
You ready for your life? Todd and Ned put their heads together to try and make some semblance out of the whole thing and figured out how their friend Brad had gone from bookworm to worm food. In other words, they were taking a stab in the dark as to how he was stabbed in the dark.
Who'd do such a thing? Killing cold blood, I mean.
A depraved maniac, that's who. Say, where did you get to last night?
That's none of your business, Ned.
I'm just asking.
I know you're asking. The killer could have been one of us.
That's bullshit talk. We have to stick together, goddammit. We've been friends for a long time, 5 years to be exact. But as far as the line goes, you're about to cross it, buddy-o.
We all know you were envious of Brad's grade average. And by the same token, he was envious of your Mary Lou.
Son of a bitch.
Let's dance.
The two young men ripped off their shirts, revealing muscular torsos, as they circled each other, ready to face off in adversarial combat. Their primal urge to pugnacity and domination was throbbing through their veins like a beating tribal drum. It was mano el mano, with tempers running high. Todd grabbed Ned by the shoulders and swung him left and right. Ned did the same, and the two grappled like rutting stags.
Stop!
As she had done before, Sharonda delivered a torrent of expert karate moves with the kind of fulgurous fury the situation demanded. Within seconds, the two chaps were on the floor, licking their wounds, perhaps in order to sweeten the taste of the humble pie they'd just been impelled to nosh.
Gee, thanks, Sharonda. We really lost our heads back there.
Yeah, Ned's right. We've got to stick together. We've got to stick together.
Sharonda smiled a wry smile as she looked at the two impish characters before her. It was impossible to believe that they were at each other's throats just a moment prior, their status as paciferous pals now fully restored.
Oh, you boys. Let's get some sleep and wait for help to arrive.
Spooky music. Great, guys. Great scene. Nice. Oh, there was so much going on there, but you handled it well. There was a lot going on. Chapter 8. What a guy.
Wakey, wakey, campers.
A booming voice penetrated the nylon membrane of the tent. Ned and Todd yawned and groggily got to their feet and wiped their eyes. They peered out of the tent to see an impressive figure. He was 6'7" and was wearing a green military-like uniform. He had a stupendous moustache that flapped in the breeze like a subnasal weather vane. He wore an impressive pair of shiny black boots, one on the end of his left leg and one on his right, identical to the left boot except for the fact it was molded to fit the contours of the opposite foot.
Hey, what's the big idea?
Are you the police?
The man took off a pair of aviator sunglasses and grinned.
Closest thing to the police around these parts, Sonny. Name's Obenstaff, Chad Obenstaff, and I'm a conservationist.
Ned and Todd stared dimly.
What's that?
Pass me that lighter, son, I tell you. It means I protect these woods from pollution, deforestation. I guess you could say that nature is my friend, and I'm her guardian.
Sharonda, who had been listening intently, came to see who this dark stranger was.
How wonderful.
Todd and Ned looked at each other, and their eyes rolled comically.
I don't want you folks to worry now. I know these woods better than anyone, goddammit. If there's a killer out there, I'll find him. Gee, thanks, mister. Just be careful where you light your campfires, and keep litter to a minimum, all right, kids?
You got it.
Sharonda yearned to know more about this handsome stranger.
Hey, don't you get lonesome out here? All alone in the woods? Must get real lonely. Don't you have a family?
Chad's eyes became misty and distant.
I did. Once. A beautiful wife and a beautiful son. Asthmatic. Both of them. If only I knew then what I know now about the real dangers of air pollution. Yet we carry on, oblivious to the invisible poison clogging our lungs.
Chad gathered himself and put his sunglasses back on.
Still, nice clean air out here in the woods. See ya. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
The three campers remained there in silence for a few moments, feeling suddenly very homesick indeed.
I miss my Mary Lou.
Hell, I even miss my dad.
Now, come on, guys. This is a vacation. Try to have fun.
Chapter 9. Things go from bad to bratwurst. From inside a camper van on the other side of the valley, loud pulsating techno music could be heard. As they often liked to do, Olga and Helga were playfully bashing each other with their pillows, sending duck feathers flying through the air, creating a miniature blizzard inside the vehicle. They were dressed only in their panties, which meant their breasts were free to bounce hither and thither with a captivating lack of abandon. They laughed, fell, rolled, and their naked bodies intertwined alluringly. Nothing could have conceivably spoiled this image of pristine nubile innocence. The door burst open, and a figure dressed in all black with a ski mask pounced on the two German playmates like a panther. As he did so, he unsheathed a long steel blade that glittered menacingly. Helga and Olga screamed as the knife plunged into their supple flesh. Stab! Stab! Slice! Stab! In a fatal frenzy, the knife was raised and lowered with deadly speed and power. The feathers that littered the camper van were no longer virginal white, but soiled and soddened with the crimson dye of death. When the killer had finally exhausted his murderous lust, Helga and Olga lay inanimate on the bloody bed. Dead. They were dead. Dead. Chapter 10. No way! Ned, Todd, and Sharonda sat around a roaring campfire, basking in its warmth, wishing the purifying flames could remove all trace of the day's traumatic events forever. But what had been witnessed could not be unwitnessed. Their lives and teenage brains were altered inexorably.
Can't beat s'mores on a campfire.
I'd say, where are the German girls? They said they'd be here.
Maybe they forgot.
Hey, has anyone heard the Shanky Mob's new album perchance?
Yeah, I think their beats a ping. Honest, I do.
The Shanky Mob's lyrics are pretty rad, that's for sure.
I need to squat and squirt. See you guys shortly, when I return from my piss.
Sharonda wandered a little way from the camp until she found a spot fit for micturition, whereupon she lowered her undergarments and relieved herself upon the forest floor. Ned and Todd stood bolt upright when they heard a scream coming from where Sharonda had just gone moments earlier for the express purposes of urinating.
Sharonda's in trouble.
Let's go, goddammit!
With all the swiftness they could muster, they ran to help their friend. When they reached Sharonda, she was sprawled on the floor in a state of shock, yes, but thankfully very much alive and well.
What's the matter, old girl? Did the coyote scare you?
The killer! He went that way!
Sharonda gestured towards a hooded figure sprinting through the trees. Ned and Todd gave chase. After much running, leaping, and bounding, Ned and Todd came to a clearing where the moonlight revealed not one, but two hooded figures standing eerily motionless before them.
I guess there's two killers then.
One each, huh? Suits me.
Ned and Todd nodded at each other and turned to face their adversaries, ready to engage in life or death combat.
Okay,
Each party threw a foray of punches and spinning kicks to the other. In the end, the hooded couple proved no match for Todd and Ned. Victorious, Ned stood over the taller of the two and grabbed his hood, intent on revealing the identity of the mystery scoundrel.
Who are you?
When the identity was revealed, they stood back aghast. Their world seemed to spin uncontrollably. It could not be. Todd felt giddy with discombobulation, for it was none other than Brad, who was not nearly as dead as they had supposed he was.
Wait a minute. What? That's impossible. You're...
Dead? Just what I wanted you to think. But no, not dead. Those German girls are, though. Dead, I mean.
You killed Helga and Olga? You jerk!
And then the other hooded figure revealed themselves, and Ned very nearly vomited with confusion. Talk about a double whammy! Standing before him, with her trademark pigtails and the emerald green eyes he usually so admired, but which now expressed only cold indifference towards him, was his sweetheart, Mary Lou.
What?
That's right, Neddy. I'd do anything for the Horsemaster.
The Horsemaster?
The Horsemaster. Mary Lou and Brad repeated this phrase like a lifeless monotone mantra. What did they mean? Who or what was the Horsemaster? And why were they acting so robotic and goddamned weird?
Time to tie up a loose end. The less witnesses, the better.
Brad looked at Todd and Ned, but then turned his gaze to Mary Lou, standing next to him. With one swift motion, he grabbed Mary Lou's head and twisted it violently towards him. There was a hideous crack, and then a thud, as Mary Lou fell to the floor. Dead, dead, dead. Behind Ned and Todd, Sharonda came out of the trees and flew at Brad with the force of a deadly karate typhoon. Her punch hit Brad's skull with such strength that his entire cranium exploded like a bloody grenade made of brains. A crimson mist engulfed the surrounding area as fragments of skull, sinew, and eyeballs were scattered about. Sharonda stood over what was left of Brad, panting as she wiped Boffin Brad's busted brains off her still clenched fist. Meanwhile, a devastated Ned fell to the floor and grabbed Mary Lou's limp body in his arms.
My Mary Lou! No!
Todd turned and addressed Sharonda, his blood-soaked lover.
Sharonda, you better stay here and look after Ned. I'll find the conversationist fellow.
Okay, baby.
Todd ran and ran towards the conservationist cabin. Bam! All of a sudden, he felt a whack on his head, and everything went black. Chapter 11. What a douche! Todd awoke feeling drowsy and nauseous. He rubbed at a large sore bump on his head. Then a familiar voice spoke.
Take it easy, Todd. That was quite a fall back there.
Chad Obenstaff sat, smoking a cigarette and swirling brandy around a large, ornate glass. Todd tried in vain to stand, and with equal clumsiness relayed his urgent message.
We found Brad's killer. Only it wasn't Brad's killer because Brad was the killer. And Mary Lou, too. She was in on it. The only thing I don't understand is why.
Because I told her to do so, of course.
Chad's laugh was utterly diabolical, and his eyes flashed like black maniacal pearls. It's fair to say that Todd was very taken aback.
What?
A little thing I picked up called hypnotism.
But you're just a conservationalist, mister. Why do you want to kill us anyhow?
You folks are always coming down to these woods, littering the place, destroying the beauty of nature.
Todd looked indignant.
Hey, I recycle.
And besides, I need a little peace and quiet for the secret work I'm doing down here.
Secret work?
That's right. Say, do you recall when the World Environment Council declared that one species should be allowed to go extinct? In fact, made to go extinct?
Gee, yeah. That horse kept killing people. I remember seeing it on the TV news.
Equinus malicious. Fascinating species. I've been breeding them down here. Take a look.
Suddenly, an emerging realization dawned on Todd that sent delicate shivers of fright quivering down his spine. Of course, Chad was the horsemaster. Todd had no time to congratulate himself on his own perspicuity, however, as his attention was drawn to an abominable beast. It snarled and drooled and shook its rabid jaws. It was some strange hybrid animal, half horse and 3/4 rapist. It gnashed in Todd's direction. Todd glared at Chad.
But millions of people will die.
Is that such a bad thing? Look at what humans have done to our planet with their damn air pollution.
You're insane!
Oh yeah?
Yeah!
That's your opinion.
It's my opinion, all right.
Oh yeah?
Yeah!
Chad waved his hands in a strange and decadent manner.
You're feeling sleepy, Todd.
Chapter 12. Climax. Sharonda tried her best to cheer up Ned. She made funny faces and did silly voices and jigs, but his grief wouldn't budge.
Hey, don't worry, Ned. You know what they say? Plenty more fish in the sea.
Thanks, Sharonda, but Mary Lou was special. Real special, like. I just don't understand why she was acting so strange.
Todd ran as if his life depended on it, which it literally did. When Chad untethered the Equinus malicious, he had underestimated that foul creature's lack of loyalty and was not expecting it to turn on him. Chad's yelps of pain had awoken Todd from his trance, and now he wasn't looking back. He ran and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran. That running ceased, however, when he tripped over some object which sent him hurtling uncontrollably. He landed and winced in pain.
God damn it! I fractured my leg in 3 places. Oh, this is bad news as far as my escape is concerned.
Todd now saw the object which had thwarted his fleeing. It was one of those 5-liter petrol cans that one uses when refueling a lawnmower. He looked up and saw Chad in the distance, limping furiously towards him. There was no escape now. Todd had to act immediately. He grabbed the petrol can and threw it as hard as he could in Chad Obenstaff's direction. Chad tried to bat it away, but ended up dousing himself in the noxious petroleum contents. Undeterred, Chad yelled like a damned werewolf and limped ever closer. Todd frantically looked for a way out of his certain impending doom. He reached in his pocket and found his lighter. He looked at the lighter, and then at the petrol-doused villain approaching. Then at the lighter, then at Chad, then back at the lighter again. Then he looked at Chad. He had to think of something. He looked at the lighter again, and then at Chad. Then the answer struck him.
Of course! I could cauterize my wound with this lighter!
Todd braced himself and put the lighter flame to his leg. He yelled as he experienced more pain than he had ever endured in his young life. He could smell the sweet putrid odor of his own flesh burning. Todd, now able to stand, did so just in time. He hobbled up to Chad and delivered an earth-shattering kick between the conservationist's legs, which crushed his testicles like grapes in a wine press. Chad fell in agony to the floor. He was dead. Dead.
What a ball ache!
Todd hurried back to check on his friends. He returned to find them safe and grateful for his return. Sharonda embraced him passionately.
What happened?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. I'll tell you about it now.
Chapter 13. The End. Or is it? It is. The three friends stood at the entrance of the forest. They had survived the peril in the woods and now felt somehow older in their years. Only they would know what had happened in that dense foliage, and this secret knowledge would bind them together for life. They took one look back at the serene forest that had played host to their horror.
Well, I'm sure not in any hurry to come back to the woods.
Ned and Todd agreed with this sentiment entirely. Ned looked at the other two, holding one another as he and Mary Lou had once held each other.
Say, you two look pretty close.
Todd smirked and beamed at Sharonda, and then his friend Ned.
Yeah, I haven't got a ring yet. But I proposed last night, and she said yes.
Wow, you guys, that's great!
Sharonda smirked back.
And don't worry, Todd. I won't give you herpes.
They laughed and walked into the setting sun. They were alive, and they had each other. For now, that was enough. Behind them, the forest stood, majestic and silent. Silent, that is, except for a faint noise, barely audible, but unmistakable. The sound of demonic whinnying. The end. Scary music. That's great. Just amazing.
Hey yo, it's the Shanky Mob
Yo, Shanky Mob.
doing it. Oh yeah,
Listen.
1 to the 2 to the 3. I'm Cheese.
I'm Chip.
We're here to sing
Shanky Mob are doing it
their own way. I'm fresh.
I'm killer.
I'm the bomb.
I'm hip.
If your rhymes are garbage, better take 'em to the tip.
Shanky, shanky. Shanky, shanky. Shanky, shanky.
Yeah, the older generation
Ain't always right.
stereotype, but we're doing alright. We're paying,
You're nut.
or maybe you forgot.
There's peril in the woods,
And we're never gonna stop. Yeah, Peril in the woods, in the mother-loving woods.
Word.